Good evening, people. It sounds like my intro doesn't seem to work very well, does it? Hope people can hear me. Good evening, Andrew. Hope the audio's okay. A little bit of noise in the background this evening. I have got a fan switched on because it's been quite a warm day here and the little shed was getting pretty hot. So yeah, hope audio's okay. I'll have a look, shall I? Make sure that we're up. Yes, that looks okay. If anything was slightly loud, so we'll just take it back a touch like that. Okie dokie. So, just you and me, Andrew, by the look of it, mate. Haha. Mind you, there were a few last night that said they wouldn't be able to make it tonight, which I totally understand. But unfortunately, life got in the way a bit last night. Or work did anyway. So, the news is the little first package from Sister Sarah is down here on the floor, but it's staying down there on the floor until I know she's in chat, and then we will unbox it. It's quite heavy. It's quite odd, and I don't know what it's going to be. So you and me, Andrew, we will just make a start because I'm sure some people will watch this later. If you remember, last night we got as far as putting the cable covering on here, which is really annoying, but it's on. Since last night I've also clipped the ends off the 3 cable ties that we put on towards the end. Yeah, there's one mystery package arrived today, and apparently she's told me the other one is coming on Friday. And I doubt I'll actually be streaming on Friday, so I might do a little unboxing on Twitter, I think, just so you can all see what's what. So, for those of you that are following, just bear with me while I get back to the right page. Mounting the heat bed assembly, step 26 is where we are this evening. So, it says, I'm not waiting for anybody else. You and me, kid. Let's do this. It says, slide the bed all the way forward, like so. Have the heat bed at the back. This is all a bit unnecessary. Like that. And then we're going to bring it forward and lay it on top. So that's what we'll do. We'll bring it forward and we'll lay it on top. Like so. And then here, you know, those little oobly-doobly screws, which I'm sure are called M3x4s. So we've got to put those in loosely to start with. So I'll just whack one in like that. And then we will just square it up. Don't think you have to do at this stage any particular order. I know you do when you tighten them down. But at this stage I just think they can go in any way that sees fit. Is that fan too loud, Andrew, or is it bearable? Oh, tell me you can't even hear it possibly. I'm just moving some air about. So just put these 9 in. Very quiet with just you and me, kid. Oh. Magnetic bases. Audio good. Second cam, big cam is out of what? This one. Have we got a focus now? Is that focusing yet? Latency is a lot better this evening. It's really not wanting to focus, is it? See how that does. It's not really any better, is it? Shall I bring it down a bit and see if that makes any difference? Let's see how that looks. It just doesn't want to focus, does it? Shall we try doing it manually? This could go terribly wrong. And if it does go terribly wrong, I apologise profusely, but we're going to try and do a bit of a manual focus on it to get it something like right. That might have done it. Let's just have a little look when my video catches up. No. Well, I don't know what's up with this evening. We're doing it manually now. That's worse. Well, what is up with this evening? Yes, it's a Logitech. Of course it's a Logitech. That's why it's doing what it likes. Oh dear. And when I was doing the test, it looked absolutely fine. Good evening, Derek. We're just having a little issue with focus and we can't do anything about it. It's not playing. It's being an absolute pain. Good evening, Gusner. Oh, that might have done it. I could be wrong, but that might have done it. No. Aye. Well, that's really helpful, isn't it? That's really going to make the rest of the evening go well. Well, we're going to just have to carry on. So what we'll do is we'll take the other camera off me. Because nobody really wants to see me anyway, do they? And we will put that on what we're doing. I shall come out of there, out of there. Right, so now, or at least on the small picture now, we can see what's going on here. So we're just going to have to go as we are. You see, in fact, I might actually... Sorry, this is terrible. This is very bad. But this had to happen sooner or later. Just let's just see if we can't make things a little better. Right, that's what we're going to go with for now. Because we're down to pretty much the last few bits anyway, and you get a good shot of my t-shirt. So we've got the screws in loosely on the heated build plate. So we will now tighten up, which means I've got to go back to my knowledge base up here. So it says you've got to do the center screw first, like so. Then the 4 edge screws, and I will do opposites. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then the 4 corners. And again, I'll do opposites. There we go. So that's all now nicely tightened down. Apparently I can have some more gummy bears now. Should I open my beer? Should I open my beer? Yes, I'll open my beer. Like I said to Andrew, who managed to turn up on time this evening, one parcel has arrived from Sister, but we are not opening it until we see her in chat, because that's the only fair way of doing it. Okay, so it says you're getting closer. Check the final look and compare it to the picture. Yes, mine's bigger. Sorry, that was terrible, wasn't it? So now it's the LCD. If you're following along, this is LCD assembly and electronics, and it is step 2. So, LCD assembly looks like this, and we are going to print a different one of those once we get up and running, but we're going to get up and running first. So we have the screen, and we have a bolt. Where does it want us to put it? Oh, we've got to flip the machine onto its side. Oh, I see. Okay, so we'll slide the bed back like that. Then I've got to flip the machine over like so. I'll just pick it up and show you where you're going. It's going to go into there. Low torque wrench. Sounds like a plan. So, first, if you took the print, I've done that, yes. Press the LCD into the LCD holder. There is a notch that fits inside. So that's just going to sit on like that. Is that what you're telling me? Oh, I see. Use the M3x20 screw to connect both parts together. So M3x20. Alright, Gus, don't get so vicious. It's about 40 fingers. Torque wrench. Yeah, I would imagine they are quite expensive. I think I've got the wrong screw in there. That says M3x20, doesn't it? I'm sure it's an M3x20 I've got. Yeah, it is. It's just tight going in. It could be me. Oh no. Because it doesn't count me, does it? I managed to work that out last night. That is really quite stiff. It has to be said. I don't think I could be doing any damage, but that is really taking some getting in. I might swap that for a smaller one. I mean, that's definitely an M3x20 I'm putting in, but it's, my goodness, it's awfully, awfully tight. I am going to check. I have got the M3x20 in my hand, because it would be not unknown for me to get it wrong. If you find it difficult to tighten the screw, turn over the Allen key and use the shorter side. So it does it does say it's going to be tight, so let's do it again. So yeah, I'm sorry last night's stream came to an abrupt halt, but unfortunately I got a call out, which I had to go and deal with. But didn't take long, and it's better to keep on top of the job. So yeah, unfortunately, I mean, in fairness, we would have been looking at another hour, possibly. Well, maybe less. I mean, depends if we get a print done tonight or not. I'm going to cheat. Look at me cheating. Ta-da! Fan dabby dozy. So that's in. So now I have to connect the LCD. So the ribbon cable, you can see, you can't see any of this. Let me turn this around for you. Ribbon cable here. I've got to plug it in and make sure it's home. So, as I'm sure all of you are totally aware, there's a little tab on there, there's a little groove in there, that goes in like that, and then they want me to put the cable, well, it doesn't really go, if they got it folded, they have got it folded. They've got it coming down like that, and then it's pushed in a bit kind of like that. I'm just going to make an awful mess of this. Yeah, they have actually sort of really squashed it in. I think I might take it out and get it underneath that first. Might be a plan. You can't actually see what I'm looking at. Somebody tell me when you can't see what I'm looking at. So I'm going to go under that stepper motor cable like that. Or over it, depending on which way you look at it. And then we're going to feed that in like that. Then we're going to go up, in like that. Just going to see if I can persuade that to sit in a bit better. It really doesn't want to stay in there, in fairness to it. Good evening, Ben. Thank you very much for joining the stream. It's very kind of you. Good to have you along. I don't know how many of the previous night streams you've seen, but we're into the final stages this evening. Not long to go now at all. Well, I can't believe you get more gummy bears just for doing that. So, cheers everyone. So, power switch. Power switch. Evening, RJ. Thanks for joining. So, power switch goes in. Again, I shall see. Power switch goes in that way. So, the negative or the off is to the back and the on is to the front. Again, I will be probably doing the case mod that puts the switch to the front and puts the USB to the front as well. That is probably going to happen, but at a later date. So it's saying the left-hand side one as you're looking at it. Goes to the left-hand side pin. And the right-hand side one will go to that pin. So do I, RJ, but you know, it did last night. It kicked up a gear a little bit later on. I think it's a matter of some of those gentlemen in the States excuse me, getting themselves sorted out. I know Thomas unfortunately can't join us this evening. He has something else going on, which is unfortunate, but like I say, I wanted to get finished. So yeah, we're in there. So we're all good, and then you just want to make sure that those are pushed down so they're underneath the top of the box, which they are. So that's fantastic. So, filament sensor. Now, there's something I need to tell you about that. I didn't buy one. I might get one later, but at this stage of time, I didn't really think I need it. I really don't use filament run-out sensors as a rule. If I'm putting a print on that's going to go overnight, I tend to just, you know, go with it. I tend not to mess about too much. You know, I'll put a full reel on and I'll print my print. I tend not to worry with filament run-out sensors, so I haven't done it. So we are skipping that step. You'll be glad to hear that makes the building of it a lot quicker. So it talks about inserting the PCFE tube. Okay. Connecting the filament sensor, connecting the electronics. So we're at that stage now, so that's step 18. There's a pretty picture for me. So, here we have a yeah, well, RJ, that's probably one of the only few reasons I would go down that route, was if I was doing a colour change, but I tend not to do a lot of those either, and when I do them, I just sort of go, ooh, let's change them. So, what have we got here? We've got an H, which is hot end fan. Which goes... You see, you really can't see what I'm doing here. You're going to have to trust me that I'm getting this right. The problem is I've got a few here that have got nothing written on them at all. Very helpful. Okay, so that's a stepper motor right there. And that says extruder. So, well, actually it says E. So that goes up at the top into the empty space that there is there. Like so. We have a 3-color one there, which I'm guessing has to be the super pinder sensor. That goes up and in that top slot there, and that's that one home. And then we have this little one here, which is 2 wires, and it is, I think that's the thermistor. Red and black, 2 wires goes up, and yes, that's the thermistor. So where does the thermistor go? Hot end thermistor, light blue. So that's the top one of these 2. That goes in there like that. So we've then got, that's clearly the hot end, which goes into that. Making sure I get it the right way around. Like so. Which leaves this one. So that must be the print fan cable, do we think? So that one has to go into there. Not built for little fingers. In there like that. So that's those ones in. Sorry. Oh, diggity, oh, shaky, nasty, horrible. There we go. You can see what we're doing now. So then we want the other cable, which is the one from the heat bed. So the heat bed goes into that one. And the heat bed thermistor goes into, oh, clicking, come on, you go, into that one. So allegedly, that's all the cabling done. Allegedly. So now we have the cover. So we have this bit, which looks like it's off the back of Batman's car. And that bit. So before covering electronics, make sure that the square nut is correctly positioned. Yes, it is indeed correctly positioned in the top of there. The nut must not fall out. It can cause fatal damage to the electronics. Well, that makes sense. Insert the teeth of the cover into the grooves in the Z bottom. Okay. Heat bed bundle, extruded bundle. Ensure the textile sleeve is partially in and also must be tilted away from the printer. And the heat bed bundle, ensure the textile sleeve is partially inside the box. Okay, so they go in like that. I'm gonna hazard a guess as we go along here. It's tucked in. It's the dizzy heights of 6 watching now. Cable sticking out the side. Get in. Right. Hopefully I've got that the right way around. I haven't actually checked the instructions. This is where you're trying to go, no, it's wrong, Matthew, it's the other way. Difficult to tell, really, isn't it? I would think that will work. No, they're the wrong way around. So, I've got the thin one and the fat one, and I think it's the other way. So I think if I tuck that under there like that, my hinge is in. They don't want to stay in the box, do they? Poke out the side there, look, we're not having that. Get in. Right, and then that is going to fit down over the top like that. Like so. That's all nice and neatly in. Sorry you can't see exactly what I'm doing here, but that is life. So that's in. Let's definitely hit that square knot. Okay. That's all in. That's all in. It looks passable to me. What you guys think? But it looks passable to me. Oh, now, important part. Prusa sticker. I might just put this on at an angle just to really wind everybody up. Silver Prusa sticker. It says on it, proudly made in Prague. It's actually proudly made in Pickering, or built in Pickering. So there we have it. Sticker on. Fantastic. Shiny, shiny. Reward myself, I will do that. Cheers. Ah, yes, but before the self-test, there is more important things to do. And that is build the spool holder. So I spent all this time building this machine, and it can go over there out of the way. Because we need to build the spool holder. Does the fun just never end? spool holdery bits. Little tray. So we've got some little felt pads, 4 bearings, and a small bag of fasteners. There we go. That's what we've got. Okay, so some of these have got spaces for nuts. See, one side is round, the other side has got the gap for the nut. So we're going to put nuts into all of those using my tried and tested pair of pliers method. That one doesn't want to go in, but it will. Hey, Sarah! What have you missed? Well, the machine's built. We are literally on to doing the spool holder and then putting some power to it and going through the test procedures. You know, I'm actually going to bow down and use the bolt. And the screwdriver is in the room as well. So we are going to break off from making the spool holder. No, they are absolutely 3D printed. Yeah, well, we were fairly close to the end last night, Sarah, in fairness, but I had a call out, which is why I had to shoot off as quick as I did. But there's still a long way to go because we've got to flash firmware on it. We've got to well, there's all sorts of things to do yet. So don't think it's going to be over in a flash, because it isn't. But what we are going to do, we're going to stop right now and we are going to open the mystery box that was delivered by Amazon today from my dear Sarah, all the way over in the grand old US of A. So we're just going to put that down now, like that. We are going to put this. It's probably pre-flashed, but not with the latest firmware. There was a new firmware came out only a couple of days ago, so I have downloaded that. It's on their USB drive, and you can flash direct from the USB drive. There's no need to connect to a computer or anything. That's very useful. So, I told you it was heavy. Box turned up today. This is a present from my sister Sarah, who is right there in the chat. So, hands in. Oh my God, that's heavy. Ah! Oh, get the flash drive off it. Marvellous. Right. I don't know whether anybody knows what this is. These are metallic parts parts dishes. So the idea behind this is you can't get them apart. These are going to come in incredibly useful, not only just for building 3D printers, but also for working on my Land Rovers. But what these do is, as you can see, they're actually stuck to each other at the moment. They've got magnetic bottoms. So if I do that, they won't go together, they push each other apart. So you can stick those like that, but when you put screws in, they sit in there like that. And they're not magnetised to them, but they sit in there. But you can put those like on the car bonnet or wherever you happen to be working, and they stick, so you don't knock them off. So yeah, you can put them on any metal surface and they stay put. So if you're working on a vehicle or anything of that nature and you've got all your parts in there, you don't knock that and knock it over, because it's welded down. I suppose what I could do, you see, the problem is they're not magnetic. Now look, those, the bearings, on the other hand, that are metal, can't lose those. So that is absolutely fantastic, sis. Thank you very much indeed. That is very, very, very much appreciated. I wanted to keep my Allen keys together rather than falling all over the floor. Like that. So this means when I come to do my next build and I'm pouring all my bags of stuff out, I can use my little trays. That's brilliant. In fact, we're going to use the little trays now. Put those in there like that. We're going to move those ones out of the way because I don't need them. That is absolutely brilliant. Yes, I still have like 300 Allen keys all over the place. They're over in one of the barns at the moment. But you can play silly games with them. Woohoo! I would have said that was magnetised, look. And colour coded as well. Yes, they come in 3 different colours. This sort of fluorescent yellow, this bright green, and sort of Prusa orangey red. Fantastic, sister. Thank you so much. Now, the bolts in my Land Rovers are generally just rusty, certainly not stainless. So, now we can carry on because I've got my little tray. There is too much butter on those trays. Aren't I a lucky lad? What a sister. Fantastic. Thanks, Sass. Much appreciated. Right, so I've got my nuts in. And then I've got to put it where you can see it. That like that. And then a bearing in there. And a bearing in there. And then I've got to get the opposing one. Haha, now then. So the opposing one is that one. And that's going to go on like that. And then it's bolt through, bolt through, bolt through, bolt through. So do that. Make sure you can see what I'm doing here. That there. That there. That goes on there. That through there. That one through there. Now they're going to come in ultra useful, sis. Not just 3D printing, not just mending vehicles either. day-to-day work, they're going to come in useful. There's going to be no end of the times that I'm going to be grateful I've got those. Yesterday I was mainly hanging out of a cherry picker, sorting out a point-to-point internet connection. Today I have been mainly sorting out electrical issues with some of the static caravans on one of the other sites. So, you know, they'll come in all over the place. I'm just guessing now, look. Such a road. Well, the thing is, Gus, I've always said, mate, I think, personally, it's important that people do build their own printers, because that way have a much greater understanding of what they're actually doing. Because otherwise, you don't understand the principles of how a 3D printer works if you just take one out of a box. You know, I think the joy of doing this is that you understand, you know, you get it all. Now, should I actually get a spool of filament out and check the width of this before I tighten these last two screws up? Thinks that would be a good idea, don't you? I've got a roll of Prusa up here behind me, because everybody likes a roll of Prusa, and that's Carmine Red PETG. Now you see, that's too far apart. So, that's better. I should really, for those of you I know who were going mad then, because I wasn't making it the same on both sides. I could hear your pain. About equal. The roll of filament sits just a little bit of a tweak to make sure, yeah, we're good to go there. Yeah, exactly, RJ. Exactly. Oh, I'm trying to screw a screw and it isn't in there. So we're just winding those screws home. Nobody's mentioned my t-shirt this evening. Why has nobody mentioned my t-shirt this evening? My good lady got me this t-shirt. No, I've got to. Love that t-shirt. Okay. So that's spool holder made. Anti-slip pads, where do we want to put those? Okay, so let's spin it over. The anti-slip pads are just going on there. Yes, because of Alan Green. Sorry, doing it now. Oh, thanks for that, Gus. I'm not sure whether that's a good thing or not, but it is the truth. So, I think I should send my sister something for Christmas. Do you think I ought to send her an A-net? And a fire extinguisher? I can't get this last pad off. The only issue would be if I got my sister a 3D printer for Christmas, all I would ever get would be hardware support. No, not something printed. I'll get you a printer. You can build it yourself. Yay! That's working. Tidy up time. Can you hear the panic in her voice? Right. Time to adjust the Pinder probe, or the Super Pinder. Now, anybody that's ever had one of these machines before, I think you've got one child, sis, that would take over. So, what we have to do here is... Come on, you drunk octopus. So, I can't see it yet because I haven't loaded it. Let me lower the carriage down. Hang on, Gus. Double check the PTFE in the cold end. But I've already fitted it. Right, so hot end nozzle, Super Pinder. We're going to get the tip of the nozzle so it's touching the bed, and then we've got to measure the distance between that and the bed, which is done with the flat part of a zip tie. So move the bed to there. We're going to just put that there for now. So we are just lowering that down. See if I can get you actually a better shot. Carry on lowering that down until the nozzle just touches the bed. Like so. Now, if I've been a really clever bunny, when I put this in now, it will just fill the gap between the Pinder probe and the bed. Like that. Ha ha ha! That is exactly how it's done. It's as simple as that. That is set absolutely perfectly. That is just wedged underneath there. So that's at the perfect height. Well, I couldn't do that twice. Right, let me just read Gus's point. Didn't see the build of the cold stroke hot end, but some assembled ones had a slight gap that caused a jam. Right, so Gus, are you talking about... It was more luck than anything. Are we talking about here? Because I have put that in, but there's a brass collet around the pipe, so it'll only go so far. But is that what you mean? I mean, I can loosen it off and take a look. I'm waiting for a reply. Has Gus fallen asleep? Have I got a massive amount of latency that I wasn't aware of? I thought I was doing quite well. So just in case anybody didn't get, there is a screw at the side there that tightens the pinder probe up. So if that pinder probe hadn't been at the right height, you loosen the screw off. You either push the probe down until it touches the plastic, or you lift it up so you can get it underneath. But that was set absolutely perfectly. So that was brilliant. So Gus, what you're saying to me is you want me to undo this brass fitting here, undo the brass fitting below it, and inside there's a piece of PTFE. Is that what you're saying to me? Because I did tighten that up quite well. I think, if I remember right, Chuck Hellebuck had that problem. I do remember vaguely watching a video on it, but I think that was a machine from a long time ago. Well, it's whatever the thickness of the cable ties that comes with it, but it's not the end that's got the knobble on it. It's not this end, and not where it goes thin at this end, but in the middle. So that's one I've cut off. That's the thickness that the pinder probe wants to be above the bed when the nozzle is just touching the bed. So I've now got to unscrew that, you're telling me. See, this isn't easy when it's got the fan shroud in. That one. I can't get to that, Gus. Because I've got the fan fitting on it. I can't get to it. Can't get in there. It's going to round the nut off, and there I'm hard up against this, so I can't physically take it apart without taking all the fan arrangement off first. So what I'm going to do is, no, Steve, if you actually check, if you go onto the pre-flight checks, when they are doing the super pinder probe and they are checking the height of it, there is no plate on top. It is showing the bed just like this. Because the theory is it should be the same anyway. What I'll do, Gus, we'll give it a go as it is. And we just hope that we don't get the clogs that he suffered. I do remember watching the video, but I do think that was a fairly early on machine, and I'm kind of hoping that Prusa will have dealt with that. If I find that I do get clogs, am I right in thinking there's a small gap at the bottom of the PTFE, and you just need to cut one that's slightly longer, and then it goes all the way in, and because you're getting a cold spot where it's coming out through the PTFE and widening and creating a bung. I do seem to remember watching that. Like I say, I'm going to have to remove all of that housing to actually get the spanner on to loosen that off. So I think for now we'll do a bit of that, and we'll hope things are right. So, power supply. Power supply. It's getting close, people. Are we going to see magic smoke today? Power supply box. Of course, one of the mods I'm going to do is the the set of extending legs for it that makes it all raise up so you can put the power supply and a spool of filament underneath. That will be printed fairly soon after we get this going. So there's your power supply. That's the proprietary fitting. So it says right, it says to plug the power supply in, but it doesn't mention fitting your cable of what I would call a kettle cable with the correct plug on for your country into the other end of it. So that's a bit ridiculous, but we will do that. So it's time for me to lean over the table. You see my filthy work jeans, because although I've changed my shirt, I have not changed my jeans. I'm already in trouble for having 3 different shirts on 3 nights in a row. So, oh, that's a tight fit into there. Let me turn this sideways for you. So the power supply is at the back. So we will put that over there. Making sure the switch is in the off position. I believe the plug only goes in one way. And it's with the flat part pointing up with the arrow on it so you can see it. The switch is in the off position. I still haven't put that in. I haven't seen that part anywhere, which is the PTFE, which I'm guessing goes in there and slides in up to the mark I put on it. I don't remember reading it anyway. There we go. It's up to the mark I put on it. But no, don't remember reading that. Alright, cheers Gus. You're going to miss the official turn on, but there we go. Right, so now what we've got to do is we've got to wind so on the Prusa Mini RJ, what they're saying is that the hot end is this part here. Hang on, let me come in from this side. This part here is the hot end, and they're classing this as the cold end. This is a special Prusa design, which is like a radiator basically, so the cold air is blown in through it there, and it cools this section here down. So they call that the cold end, and they call that the hot end. So basically, that's where they stand with it. But that's because it's a special... Prusa has called it that because it's a Prusa design, and Prusa does what he likes. I think that's how it goes. Well, the thing is, RJ, it all harks back to originally when 3D printers were built, they were all direct drive. Now, somebody's going to tell me I'm wrong here, but they were all direct drive. So when you talk about an extruder, in the original time, this whole part here, so that the motor that pushes the filament through and the hot end was all one piece. It's what they now call direct drive, is how they all were. So the whole thing was called an extruder. Now, when they went to the Bowden system, which is the hot end and fans separate from the actual motor that pushes the filament through, which is what that is. That is the Bowden tube. That is the name of that tube. When they went to that, we then started having a difficulty of what do we call this, what do we call that? Because is it the bit that pushes the filament through, is that the extruder? Or is it this part here, because that's the bit that extrudes the filament? So it pushes the filament out. So it became difficult because, like I say, originally the word was designed for a one-piece unit where it was all together. But the problem is when you've got all the mass of the stepper motor and the gears for the extruder part on here, when that's moving backwards and forwards, that's an awful lot of mass. And what that tends to do is to cause issues with your print. You get ringing and ghosting and one thing and another because it is moving so much weight about. So this Bowden system was designed to keep the weight down on the print head, so the prints were a better quality with less ghosting and ringing. So that's where it sort of stems from, I seem to remember. I'm sure somebody's going to pop up now and tell me that's complete rubbish and I'm talking out of my hat. But that is what I believe. So I'm now carefully taking out this spring steel sheet. Yes, Gus, updated firmware downloaded last night, well this morning, already on the stick to go on. So this is your flexible build surface. I went for the smooth rather than the powder coated, and that's going to sit onto the top of the heat plate like that, and it locates with the two little screws at the back that you probably can't see into the little notches, so we know that's right. So that is the end of the build. So cheers my people. Thank you for watching. No, I'm joking. There's plenty of room. I can get my hand in. Powder coated is a lot better. On the Mark III, I find the powder coated is very good for PETG, but I do find that the smooth sheet is a lot better for most other things. Right, so we're at the stage now where we have to go over to the handbook. So I shall click on the link for the most up-to-date handbook, rather than getting mine back out the Land Rover. So it takes you through about 19 pages of what not to do, what to do, don't burn yourself, la-di-da, la-di-dee. Goes through a glossary of terms, package contents, handling and transporting. So really the only thing to do now is to peel that off, if I can even get to it. So I have to point out that in 3D printing circles, oh, there's metal underneath there. In 3D printing circles, this is what they call plastic porn. And what you have to do is, you have to slow the film down and put on a bit of Barry White or something. And ever so carefully, if you can get hold of it, which I can't. Might have to get the pliers on it. It's hardly plastic porn if I have to get pliers on it. Ever so carefully, pull the plastic off. Like that. So I hope you're all listening to Barry White in your head. Okay, so stage now, we're going to hit the button. So we'll get in on the screen. We shall, this way, if I've got the screen like that, you can't see the magic smoke coming out the rest of it. We have fans. So, set language, English. And now we can go through the wizard. Can you actually see that? Can I get you in a little closer? Right, okay, so it says, welcome to the original Prusa Mini Setup Wizard. Would you like to continue? Yes. So the status bar at the bottom of the screen, it contains information about the nozzle temperature, the heat bed temperature, the printing speed, the Z-axis height, and the selected filament. So you can see all that there at the bottom. At least I hope you can. Press next to run the self-test, which will check for potential issues related to the assembly. Okay, so it's now going to go through the tests. This is where it tells me I've got the plugs in the wrong way around. So it's spooling up the fans, it's reading if they're 3-wire fans, which they are. It actually takes an RPM reading from them as well. So it knows what it should be spinning at and what it is spinning at. So it's just taking them up gradually, speeding up the fans and making sure that they're working properly. Cam's out of focus. Do I have to prat about with it again? See, now it's out of focus. So what it's doing now, it's moving every part of the printer backwards and forwards along the full length of its axis. So it's making sure it's actually able to measure exact distances forward and backwards. So if you haven't got something seated properly or tightened properly, it will be able to tell. Even if you've got the bed slightly skewed, it should be able to tell. So at the moment, the X and Y axes are passing tests. I'm just pulling back a bit because it is now seriously out of focus. Little bit of vibration there on that screw, and I hope that will clear itself. I'm sure it will. So it's passed all the axes. That's all happy. So it's now going to heat the nozzle and the heat bed. You can see there it sets temperatures on the nozzle of 290 degrees and a temperature on the heat bed of 100 degrees. And if you look carefully, you'll see that those numbers are now coming up. So that's now, oh, you can smell that. That's beautifully pungent. So as I say, that's now bringing both the heat bed and the nozzle up to temperature. So Sarah, 99.999% of the machines built do not do any of this functionality. This is something that's pretty much specific to Prusa, that they have all this ability to do tests and check things for you, because through doing all this, it means there's a lot less chance of something going wrong, if you know what I mean. So yeah, that's fine. Nozzle temp is checked out perfectly. No, it's not all metal. It is PTFE lined. So I think that means you can go... Somebody's going to correct me on this. I think 280 is about the tops you can really go to. Yes, I have indeed seen that, and yes, indeed, I am going to be doing it. In fact, I will be printing it on the Mini. So it gives it legs to bring it up off the ground. Sorry, you can't see it. Brings legs to bring it up off the ground. It means you can get a spool holder underneath the bed, and the power supply tucks underneath as well. 250 is, yeah, max for PTFE if you are actually printing at that. I mean, it's just gone to 280, but it's only gone to 280 momentarily to test the temperature. So all tests finished successfully, so that's good. That means I've actually managed to build it right, so we can now keep these 3 videos online because clearly I've built it properly. So we want to do a first layer calibration now. I'd quite like to change the firmware, but I suppose I ought to do a first layer calibration first. So we are going to use the little bits of free stuff that Prusa sent through. Let's see if we can move over there just to do this. There is several systems available there, most of them that work over Wi-Fi. There's a thing called Octoprint, which uses a Raspberry Pi, and you put firmware onto the Raspberry Pi, and then you plug the Raspberry Pi into the motherboard of the printer, and that enables you to remotely look at the temperatures of the printer, how long it's been printing, how long it's going to print. You can fit a webcam to it as well, so you can actually watch your printer printing while you're not there. You can pretty much do everything with Octoprint now. A lot of people swear by it. I have set up an instance of it before. You can have 5 or 6 machines all running Octoprint, so you can log on and look at them all. But I don't tend to use it. I know I should, but I just don't tend to use it. I like to be old school and just use the machine as it is. And Gustner's back. Okay, so to calibrate with the currently loaded filament, there isn't any currently loaded filament. Yeah, hang on a minute. I'm working on it. Just bear with me 2 ticks. Just got to take this, won't be a second. Talk amongst yourselves. Right, so just loading the filament up. You can't see this happening. So there's the orange filament there in the tube. So it's now purging filament through the hot end, which you should see coming out of the bit you can't see. You can just see it purging out of the end there. So it says, is the colour correct? We will say yes. We were just going to steal that little bit off the end. Now let's calibrate the distance between the tip of the nozzle and the print sheet. So, next. In the next step, use the knob, which is at the bottom here, to adjust the height and check the nozzle. I'm just getting a little bit off there. So we're just waiting it to get up to temperature. It's all very exciting, isn't it? So I'm just reading the comments. Does it need a computer connection to run, or can the design be loaded onto the machine's memory? Basically you have a either an SD card or a USB stick which you plug into the machine once you've sliced, which is a whole other part of the thing. Once you've got your model on there, you can plug it in and it prints direct from it. Right, well that's way high. So all I've done there is, by using the button on the front, I've actually lowered the nozzle down as it's been moving until I get a line that I feel is about right. It's the kind of thing you can only do through practice. The more you do it, the more you get to understand where exactly you need to be. I think that's quite a good even level line. I don't know what anybody else can see. You can't see it too well, but I would say that was very nice. You're just going to wait till we get to the end and we do the final print part just to see how it looks. What you're trying to do, you're trying to flatten it comes out in like a toothpaste tube, so it comes out circular. So what you're trying to do is you're trying to flatten it, so when you've got two lines next to each other, there's no gap in between, so it's squished it so much, but you don't squish it so flat that it's too thin, basically. So you have to find a happy medium. Now that, I don't know how many experts there are still in the room at the moment, but that, for a first run, I'm just going to try and tug on me cable a minute. Hang on, because I'm trapped underneath the desk. Just bear with me. So I would have said that that isn't bad at all. I don't know what anybody else is going to say, but I'm fairly happy with that. Yeah, it doesn't look bad at all, that, Derek, does it? So we don't want to repeat the last set. No, we're more than happy with that. It reckons the calibration is complete. So we'll peel that off the bed, see how it comes up, because that's always a good sign as well. If it breaks apart as you peel this little square off, you know you've got it wrong. But that's come up really rather nicely. So now I need to update the firmware. So USB stick with the latest firmware. Goes in the USB port on the side, like that. And immediately it tells me, you see, this is something else that's quite specific to Prusa, Sarah, is the fact that when you put the USB stick in, it tells you what prints are actually on the USB stick. It gives you a little representation. So we want to go to settings. So we want to go to firmware update. So we'll do it on restart. So we're now going to restart the machine. So there's a reset button down the bottom, along the side. So we'll restart the machine and then it will proceed to do a firmware upgrade. So it's now rebooting. Thanks, Steve. Not a bad first effort. No, that's what I thought. And there we go. We are now flashing the latest firmware, which is on the USB stick. As with all other firmware flashings, do not turn it off. You know, always leave it running, always leave it to do its thing. And that's flashed away. So rather than grabbing Slicer and start messing about with that, we are just going to print something that's on the USB stick as the first print, which will be, excuse me, the end of this evening's thing. We will start doing a print and then we'll have a little chat about it and then we will call it a night. I told you it wouldn't take long this evening. So we go to the print and then you see we have a nut, a screw, a whistle, a sheep, a buddy, or a little Prusa thing. I think, oh, shall we just go for the benchy? What do you think we ought to go for? How's it going? Sean, we're up and running, mate. We are flying. So we've got the tree frog. I want something that's going to be fairly quick. So do we go for the... No, we'll go for the whistle. We'll do the whistle. So click on that. That brings you up a representation of the whistle. Yes, that is what we would like to print. It tells me it's going to take 32 minutes and 25 seconds to print. I think there's possibly enough orange Prusa there to do it. So we will click print. So it's now heating the bed and the nozzle up to temperature. It will then do a bed level again and then it will start to print. And it's as simple as that. Yeah, you missed the self-test, Sean, but you can go back and you can watch it because it absolutely aced it. Went straight through the whole thing, no issues at all. absolutely spot on perfect. Really was quite chuffed. I've got to be honest with you. First layer calibration didn't start off particularly well, but by the time we got to the end of it, it had done really nicely. So yeah, it would appear that it's gone quite well. It's got to be said. It would appear to have gone quite well. So what we're going to do is we are going to put the camera up to the bed. I wish it would blooming focus. It's becoming a real annoyance for me that these things won't focus. I'm just going to have a little play with the focus. Really doesn't want to play tonight, does it? It's incredibly annoying, got to be said. Cannot get it to do anything I want it to do. Oh, if only it was that easy. It's actually focusing a bit better at the moment. Well, it's trying to. So as you can see it printing away there, if we just pull back to the screen here, you can see the information there. So we're 12% into the print already. So it's been printing 7 minutes and 22 seconds, and there are 28 minutes remaining. So that's the level of sort of information that you get when you buy a Prusa. We'll move back over now and see if that's going to refocus or whether it's going to be a pain again. Can I put the mic near it? Yeah. Well, I say yeah. The loudest noise you can hear is the fans. Right, so although you can't see that, the microphone is right in there. That's right up against it. They are, look. And like I say, the majority of the noise you can hear there is the noise from the blower fans. Now we appear to be getting some small black specks in the print, and what that is that's the previous filament that they've used when they have been testing the hot end, and that's just the residual that's been left in there, and that's coming out with this print. That won't exist after the first print. Like I say, it's just the little bit that they've used to get it started, but that's printing quite nicely. So yeah, all in all, my experience of building it, like I say, having built a Prusa before, it went together very well. All the parts fitted nicely. The information was easy to follow. The only slight issue I had with it was through overtiredness on my own part, meaning that I just was a little bit slow doing some things, which if you are building it at home, either start earlier in the day, not after a day's work. What I would suggest is if you have weekends off, it's kind of the best thing to do is to start it on a Saturday morning, take a good break at lunchtime, come back to it in the afternoon, and if you don't get it finished, don't rush it. Leave it till the Sunday. Take the Saturday night off, have a few beers and a curry, relax, chill, go back to it fresh on the Sunday and carry on with it. Do not ever try and rush building one, because you will make mistakes. There was a couple of times I had to take things apart and realign them, and that was always down to me. It was always my own issues, my own faults. But yeah, it's gone together well. As you can see, it went through the configuration and the self-test without any issues at all. Everything passed first time straight away. So now it's going to be printing things with it and seeing what I can print with it, and you know, the quality of printing in PETG. We'll try flexibles through it. We'll probably try a bit of nylon or something like that, but we're going to put it through its paces. But it's a lovely little machine. It's a great little size. I mean, it will fit. It'll fit on the build plate of the Mark III, but you know, it is small. You know, it's not a big thing at all. It's not particularly heavy. I can pick it up one-handed without too much trouble. I can tilt it over like that, look, and it still prints. Don't ever try that at home. But you see, that's actually, in theory, you could actually turn that entirely upside down. And because of the way it's designed, that would continue to print. But like I say, don't try it at home because you drop it on your head. Having another little slip of my beer. Well, it's funny you should say that, Andrew, because the colour I have picked for when I do the upgrades, I don't know whether I've showed you this. What do you think of that? I mean, it's not PETG, it's only PLA, but it's HT PLA. And it's protoplaster, and it is the Galactic Empire Metallic Purple. Yes, cause for a reason, sis, because it's the lowest in carbohydrates and sugars. So it's the best for me. So yeah, I thought that purple was nice. I thought that purple would go well. So I'm going to do the front and the back plates in the purple, and when I do change the LCD cover, I'll probably do that in the purple as well. That's when I'll do the mod that puts the USB stick, rather than being at the back, it puts the USB stick on the side here, and the power switch is also there, so it's easier to get to. Because I wasn't going to mod it before I built it. So now I'll let you all into a little secret. Now that we're up and running. About 10 minutes ago, I'm not quite sure what I was doing. Oh, I know exactly what I was doing. I was cutting through the cable tie that was holding the orange filament together using my Ultrastat Stanley blade. And I managed to stick it into my finger of my left hand. So, for the second half of that, when I said, excuse me a minute, I've just got to sort something out, I was wrapping a bandage around my finger because I was pouring blood all over the table, all over the floor, all over my jeans, all over my left hand. So I've been kind of sort of going one-handed for the last sort of 20 minutes or so. So I have a finger wrapped up in a bandage, blood all over my hand. I've wiped it all over my jeans. My jeans are now absolutely covered in blood. I've got blood on the side of the table here. Made a right blooming mess. Just sharp end of that, just went like that and just stuck into my finger. So I told you to be careful. You noticed. Ha! Did you? Well, good on you, because I did try to hide it as much as possible. But I'm a big brave boy and I just carried on, because that's what you do. The show must go on, you know. In fact, it's going to go on so much. We've got a fresh beer. Oh, you don't know about that. That's a brand new blade. There's no nasties on that at all. That's probably the cleanest my fingers have ever been. Now, I don't know whether anybody here can notice, but there is a fault. Probably can't see it. No, you can't see it. But where I tilted the bed up earlier, there is a line now in the print. So it has actually lifted ever so slightly. When I've tilted the machine over, it's I've got a separation line. So whether it'll work or not, I don't know. I shouldn't really have tilted it over, should I? That's why, Andrew, every project I do with my Land Rover is a proper project, because I am always bleeding. It is being at one with the machine. You know, it's just taking a bite out of me. So yeah, it almost looks like a skipped layer, but it's not a skipped layer. It is literally just the fact that I picked the machine up and turned it on its side. So we're going to forgive it of that when we look at it. We are now 46% into the print. Now, is everybody going to sit and wait another 17 minutes until it's finished? Or are we just going to leave the stream here, and then I shall post some bits and pieces on social media over the coming days? It's entirely up to you. I shall leave it in the capable hands of the 5 people that are watching. But I've got to say, I'm very impressed. It went together very nicely. Prints, as Prusas always do. First layer calibration went down particularly well. I do like this little screen. I've got to say, this little graphical display is absolutely brilliant. It's very intuitive. It's very informative. It's the first machine I've had that's had a graphical display like this, and no, it's very, very good to see. Mighty impressed. To be completely honest with you, RJ, I have absolutely no idea. It's not something I really strive for. I've got a Core XY sat over there, which I've built myself. Sat over there. You can no. There we go. That machine is built for speed. That I can print cleanly at about 130, 140 millimeters a second without any issues at all. I mean, it's incredibly noisy, but it prints like a boss. This is printing at the moment. I don't know if it actually tells you on the display. That could be what that is there. That could be telling me. No, that's the layer height. I'm not sure. Because I haven't looked at the slice profile for it, so I don't know what it was sliced at. But trust me, 130 millimeters a second is fairly fast. But this isn't really built for speed. That's really not the design of it. It's just, it's a really nice thing. I suppose as much it's a proof of concept as much as anything else. But you can have a printer with a single axis, because most of them have dual axis, so you would have another one at the other side with another lead screw and another motor at the bottom, so it's going up and down like that, like the Mark III has, like a majority of the printers out there do have. Yeah, well, I couldn't rush to a Voron, which is why I bought the Second Go. And like I said, there are a series of videos on the build of that. There is a full build of that on my YouTube channel. I can't remember how many videos it was. It ended up being, it was 5 or 6, I think. But yeah, it's a beast of a machine. It absolutely flies like a rocket. So if I need a replacement part for something at work done in a hurry, that's my go-to machine. I don't necessarily need it to be beautiful looking, but it is accurate. So if I'm printing something, for instance, that's got necessary internal diameters, it's accurate, very, very accurate, very, very quick, but not the best of best print qualities. For that, you need to go slow and steady. Yeah, the height of the print is limited by the distance between that this will come up. So generally, most printers on the market at the moment are 300 by 300 by 350 or 400. So you're sort of basically a foot square build surface and then a foot and a bit tall. So that's your build area. There are machines that go a lot bigger, that go 500 by 500 by 500. If you go for a Delta printer, which is a printer which works in a completely different way, the build surface at the bottom is quite small, so the surface area that way is generally only sort of maybe 200 by 200, but the height 600-700, because they're built in a different way and they work in a different way. So they're great for doing tall, small things like vases, rockets, that kind of thing. But you don't get a very big build area. This is only a small build area, but you'll be surprised what you can print on a build area this small. Majority of the things you will use in day-to-day use, you'll be able to print on a bed this size. Yeah, I know, Sean. He is doing a different machine now, though, isn't he? He hasn't given up altogether. He's just moved on and doing something different. But a very, very good machine. The only issue with things like that is they are very expensive. And they are an absolute kit. You know, there is no two ways about it. You think building this Prusa was a kit. Building that when you've got all the extrusions to level and center and make sure that they're square and all the pulleys and everything else that goes with it. Now, it's funny you should mention that. FL Sun got in contact with me this morning about their new Delta. Trying to sell me one at a greatly reduced price if I would do a video on it. And I turned around to them and said, I don't pay for printers that I do videos on. Either you send me the printer and I'll do a video on it, or I like the printer and I buy it myself and I do the video on it, like I've done with the Prusa. Yeah, so we'll wait and see. I can't honestly remember. I could actually look back and tell you, because it was a Facebook message, wasn't it? Let's have a look. There we go. Yes, it was the SR, the Super Racer. Yeah, that's right. And he contacted me, you know, would I be willing to la-di-da-di-da? And I'm afraid everybody gets the same response. You send me the printer, I'll look at it, I'll tell you what I think, and I'll tell everybody else what I think. Thoughts on this? I'm trying to work out what it cost me in total. It was nearly £400 in total. What are they on the website at the moment? So the kit is $349 plus shipping, and then plus taxes and VAT and stuff like that. So if you were to get one, Sarah, it would cost you nearly $400, and that's for the kit. So you'd have to build it yourself. You can get a pre-built one. Let's have a look and see what the built ones cost. They're not only a little bit more. So I'm going to swap back to pounds now because it's clicked over for me. So in UK pounds, the kit was 330, but then I had to pay £80 in tax, no import duty, no problem there, but I had to pay DHL £11 for handling it for me on top. So yeah, it was nearly £400. If you buy the almost made version, it's about 440, 450, and basically the almost made version, you get the main part, so you get the bed and all the bottom half, and then you get the x-axis and the power, the board, all in one other piece, and all you do is you put 3 screws in to bolt it all together, and that will build it. Now, what I was going to say was, before I got sidetracked, £400 is quite a lot for a printer of this size for me. And what I mean by that is that because I've had 15 printers, I don't need a graphical interface that shows me a picture of what I'm going to print. I don't need necessarily all the help with setting it up because I am more able to fix issues and problems, and I understand the workings. So the self-tests and stuff like that I don't necessarily need. But for somebody who wants to get into 3D printing, who wants a machine that, I mean, let's be honest, this is almost like the Apple of the 3D printer world of this kind of level, because it is neat, it is tidy, it has got a lovely graphical interface, it has got a style all of its own. Joseph Prusa has made his printers stand out from the rest, and really it is kind of, you know, the Apple or the Tesla or whatever you like to call it of the 3D printing world. It's more expensive than many, but you know you've got a really good build quality, you know you've got a really good backup and support from Prusa, and you know the machine is going to work. And that's worth, to some people, the extra cost. To a lot of people, it's worth the extra cost. To me, not so much. Like I say, I've had about 15 printers. I know how to fix them when they break. I know what issues happen and why they happen, and I can fault find and sort them out. I know this is a lot more expensive than buying an entry level, say an Ender 3. But again, people buy Ender 3s, and all they do with Ender 3s is mod them and change them and make them a machine like this. They put graphical interface screens on them, they put bed leveling sensors on them, they put quiet stepper motors on them, they put, you know, this, that, and the build surfaces, everything else. They take a machine that's cost them £200 or £180 or whatever they are these days, and they put as much back into it to turn it into this. If this is what you want, if you just want a machine that you build and you switch it on, you ask it to print something and it prints it, you cannot beat Prusa. It's got to be said. I'm not a fanboy. I like my Prusas. I like tinkering. I like building from scratch. But you can't knock the machine. But there are basic issues with everything. The thing with 3D printers is, Steve, it doesn't matter how much money you spend, there are going to be issues. I always say to people, we expect an awful lot from a 3D printer, especially when, if you actually think about it, it's printing at 0.2 of a millimeter. That's the kind of accuracy you're working to, and you're building this thing in your shed, your garage, your spare room, your kitchen table with, you know, a few Allen keys, a couple of spanners, and you're expecting accuracy at bare minimum of 0.2 of a millimeter. So there are going to be issues. There are going to have to be little things you have to tune. It's, you know, it's a highly accurate machine when used properly. So the room for mistakes and errors is massive. Absolutely massive. I mean, it's inconceivable, really, when I first got a 3D printer, in my brain, that I'm printing layers at 0.2 of a millimeter each. So I've got to print 5 layers to do a millimeter of height. And that absolutely blew my mind. And that's something you've got to take from it. That's nearly finished, you know. We're at 90%. We've got 3 minutes left. Like I say, there is that fault in it, which you possibly can't see there, where I picked the printer up like an idiot. What issues are you having with it, Steve? In particular? Not that I'll be able to help you, because I'm not that intelligent. Just watching it do the top layers. It did the bridging of that top layer amazingly. Absolutely amazingly. Yeah, we're on to about... We're not far off the top layer there, you know. Not far off the top layer at all. That is printed particularly well. Like I say, I just wish I hadn't put that seam in it. So, when you got the issues, what were the issues? How did you get in contact with Prusa? Did they help you? Did they not help you? I once had an issue with my Mark III when I think I'd changed a nozzle on it, and what I'd actually done was I damaged the Pinder probe unknowingly, and I wasn't getting an accurate bed level, and I shot them an email, didn't get a reply, and then somebody said to me, you want to get on the live chat. The live chat is the way forward. The live chat is the way to get things sorted out. I spent about 40 minutes on live chat, and we went through everything and went away and tried to get it to work. Couldn't get it to work. The guy that I was speaking to said, right, I'm on live chat tomorrow from this time. Come back on. I'll try and pick up your chat so we can continue. We spent another 2 hours fault finding and narrowing down what the issue was. In the end, he turned around and said, I think it's your Pinder probe. We'll send you one out. We'll get it sorted. We went through it, and he got me up and running again. And that is the whistle printed. So that's on the bed. And what we're going to do is we're going to pop it off the bed by flexing the bed. And off it comes. The bed can go back on the... Oh! Print surface can go back on the heat bed, which trying to do one-handed is quite interesting. So, like I say, there are some dark parts. Oh, I can't really see, can you? Some little dark splodges there, which is the filament that was in before, and that line that you can see there, if you can see it, is actually where I picked the printer up. So I'm just going to let me flick onto... I'm just trying to see if you can see what I can see. Yes, you can actually see that seam there, can't you? But it's printed really rather nicely. The bottom layer is beautiful. Like I say, apart from the black that is left over from when they tested it. JP has come out beautifully on the front. And of course the real test is... Well, that worked. I hope nobody had the earphones on at that point. I'm terribly sorry. So there we have it. First successful print. There we go. Heat break replaced with Bondtech. Extruder replaced. PTFE in hot end was too short. Right, yes. Now I have heard that. In fact, Gus was talking about that earlier. I would hope that they have solved that issue. I would hope they have solved that issue. Your extruder will start clicking and you will get hot end blockage. I will put money on it. I have heard people have had that happen. And I have heard people who haven't had that problem. You didn't hear the whistle. It's not actually. I think it's wiping the mic out ridiculously. You must have heard that there. I wasn't holding back. I'll be honest with you. I think it was too loud, and it was so loud that the audio capture just cut out. I think it just got too much. But yeah, it's printed. First print off, successful. Happy with that. Happy with the way it's printed. Now, really, I should start slicing some stuff and printing away. Now, you see, we just go back to the screen. This is, as much as anything, this is for Sarah as much as anything. So it tells you it's done 100%. It told you how long it took. You can actually click on the button there and reprint it. So if you want another one, so if you're printing lots of the same thing, you just hit the button and it'll do it again. You've got a tune function, which it won't let me do. That's actually while during printing, but we'll gloss over that. So we'll click on home, and then we'll click on. I wonder if we go to info. Yeah, no, that's all. Excellent, the new firmware all went on all right. So we'll go to print. How long does the sheet take? 2 hours and 16 minutes. We're not going to do that tonight. I'm just going to set something else off printing and then leave it, and then we'll look at it tomorrow. What about doing the benchy? We've got to do a benchy, haven't we? I'll change to the silver filament and we'll do a benching. Should we do that? Should we just leave it doing a benchy overnight? And then we'll have a look in the morning and see how it got on. I think there's enough filament there to do it. I might swap the filament out. Let's swap the filament out. So we go to filament. We go to change filament. So now it'll heat up the hot end so we can remove the filament. What shall I put in? Shoot me a Facebook message with your logo and I will make a mini light box. Oh, how cool. Cheers for that, Andrew. I will do that. Oh, now me roll of Prusa that I bought when I bought the printer. I've got a roll of Galaxy Black. Shall we do? We'll do an overnight benchy with some Galaxy Black. A tank benchy. How cool. Are you still with us, sis? Oh yeah, there you are. You are still with us. A benchy. A benchy is a print that most people will have thousands of if they haven't thrown them out. It is a model of a boat designed by a gentleman called Daniel Norray, and it is designed to test your printer. So it's got, oh, there we go, sending out the old filament. It's designed to test how well your printer works. So it tests things like overhangs. Overhang is when you're trying to print, for instance, when you print the whistle, when you get to the top, you do around the perimeter at the top, like, oh, you can't see, can you? You pull it back so you can see it. You print around the perimeter at the top like that, and then you've got to print across the gap So you're basically running a line of filament from a point there to a point there across open air. So you have to make sure that the filament is at a certain temperature and the fans are working at a certain speed, that they cool the filament enough as it bridges that gap that it doesn't sag and drop in, so it stays level as it goes across. So it's got to be cool at a certain rate. So it's all very much about how well your printer is set up. It's things like overhangs as well. When you print, if you were to print that in that orientation, you would start there. It would work up to about this point, but then the overhang on the corner would be too great, and you would get loops of filament dropping away because it can't physically print neatly at that angle. So what this little model is, this bench spoke, this tests all those different elements of, it's like a torture test, a stress test. It tests all the elements that are difficult to print in one little model. So whenever you've changed to a different company's filament, or you've changed to a different material that you're printing with, or anything like that, and you've what they've called tuned the profile, because each different filament you should have a different profile for it, at what temperature it prints at, how much cooling it should have, all those kind of things. And this allows you to test all those things to make sure that you've got all your settings right. So what we'll do is we'll put the spool there. We will feed this beautiful Galaxy Black in through the tube, lift the gate up, make sure that it's there. Yeah, so we are wanting PLA. It raises up. You can see that on the screen. Let's make sure that I've got you in shot. So it says press continue. There it goes. It takes the filament. It's going to need a bit more of a purge, I think, because I didn't get that far enough in. So this is the colour correct? No, because I haven't got it far enough in. So we'll say no. So it will continue to purge. So what it's doing now is it's pushing the black filament in, which is going into the hot end where there is still some of the orange filament, and it will push the orange filament out, and then once all the orange filament has gone, it will then bring through the black. Like I say, I didn't get it started quickly enough, so it's just going to take a little bit longer to purge through. There we go. There's the orange coming through, and there it is turning to the black. So now we've got the colour that we want. Take that off, we can say yes, that's the right colour. Then we can go back to the main menu, we can print, come down, 3D Frenchy. There's the boat. Press the print button. It's bringing the extruder down because it's just heated up to change the temperature. It will cool that off, and then it will start to print. Yeah, please do, Andrew. I'm very, very interested. Very, very interested. Got to get that on there like that. I see, as RJ says, typically a printer can print up to about 45 degrees, no problem, but cooling, print speed, etc. become more important when the angle becomes shallower. Also, you have to make sure that you have your model set in such a way that at that 45 degree angle, it's getting enough cooling. because you can actually block the path of the airflow with the way you have the part on the bed. What a team we've got in here. Only 7 of us, but what a team. So we're doing our bed probe. I should explain this, Sarah. What this is doing is the probe that's on the side is measuring the distance between the probe and the bed. So what it's doing is it's creating a map in the printer of any bits of the bed that aren't absolutely perfectly level. So then what it does is, as it's drawing a line across the bed, if it's slightly low in, say, this corner, you can't see what I'm pointing at. If it's slightly low in this corner, it will actually move the print head down by a fraction of a millimeter to make sure that that line is the perfect thickness all the way along. So what it does is it maps the bed, works out where the high points and low points are on the metal sheet, and then it adjusts the print as it prints, so you always get a nice level surface, level print. But you can't call it bed leveling, you've got to call it tramming. Oh, look at this for a first layer. What do you think, guys? Those in the know. Apart from the fact he's wildly out of focus. I'm impressed with that, I've got to say. That is going to be a good first layer. I'm pleased with that. Jesus, Andrew, 18 photos. Do you think that's enough? Right, I shall speak to you later, Andrew. We will speak. That is going down beautifully, guys. That is as good as a first layer as I've seen in quite a while. I'm very pleased with that. Oh, emails upon emails upon emails. People wanted to come away on holiday. We're full. Well, I'm looking forward to seeing that later. So I think we're going to call it, guys. We have been on nearly 2.5 hours. I would like to massively thank all of you who stayed with me over this time. I know there hasn't been many of us, but it is the first time I've done anything for a long time. It's certainly the first time I've done any live streams for a long time. It hasn't been without its exciting moments, has it, Andrew? Like me pouring blood all over the place, which if you watch the replay you will see. me leaking all over the place. But yeah, thank you very much, all of you, for staying with me while we've done this. I've got to say, I am impressed with it. It's all I was expecting. And I think, along with most other 3D printers, it has its place. And I think it is very much a machine that you could have, you know, in a house, in a setting like a dining room or in the corner of a lounge or something like that, that you can just literally go to, bang a print on and print it. It's quiet, it's small, it's compact. I think when I build the base for it to actually put the roller underneath and the power supply underneath, it'll be even nicer. I just think it's a very nicely well put together piece of kit, as Prusa always is. And yes, you do pay a premium, and I do hope I don't have the same issues that others have had with that PTFE tube, but only time will tell. And if I do have that problem, we will go through fixing it. I know that Chuck Calibrate has already done a video on it because I have watched it, but we would maybe do it live, because that's what we do, isn't it? We do things live. Warts and all, blood and guts everywhere. So thanks very much. Like I say, guys, really do appreciate it. In fact, I'm going to stick the camera on me for a sec to say goodbye, because that's only fair, because you haven't seen my gorgeous face in so long. I forgot we've got the zoom on though. You can see all my grey hairs and everything. So, like I said, thank you so much for watching. I do appreciate it. I appreciate you taking the time to sit with me over the last 3 nights and get this thing up and running. It's been a pleasure. It's been fun. It's been painful, but we've got there in the end. Take care, guys. I have another parcel coming on Friday from the sister. I will do a little live unboxing on Twitter of what that is, so catch me on Twitter for that. There's a link to that on my YouTube page, how to get hold of me on Twitter. Follow me to see what that is and what other wonderful gifts she sent me. Until next time, when I've got something else I want to put out there, I'll say goodbye for now. Take care, guys. Stay safe, and we'll see you soon.